So I got some mail today. And I wanted to say something to y'all. Last week's episode kind of breezed over a couple really important things. Boating is not exclusively for rich people. I definitely wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, or really any kind of spoon, and I'm starting to get the picture that that's pretty normal for a lot of you. So I'm sure you guys have figured it out. The thing I forgot to mention, finances. That's me, when I used to work on a tall ship, a retired game developer and vintage clothing dealer, and now commercial mariner. Sailing has given me the best experiences of my life, and my goal is to inspire other people to do the exact same. Because trust me, it's worth it. I'm Barry Collins, and this is Haley, my girlfriend. What can I say? I'm a lucky guy. She's a tattoo artist turned sailor. Tattooing full-time for over 10 years, Haley stays quite busy, but somehow she still finds time to work on boats with me. And this is her on our beautiful boat, Thunderchild. We spent last year adventuring on our boat, getting to know her, but this year we're making some big changes. This is Sailor Barry and Haley, and we're restoring Thunderchild. Good luck trying to spend a decent amount of time away on a beach in the middle of nowhere relaxing, all while you've got this bill looming over your head needing to be paid. We're trying to figure this out as we go too. We're clearing debts and we're trying to have some kind of a nest egg and crazy thought, maybe something to retire on. Like, do what you're gonna do, don't let me stop you or tell you otherwise, but maybe it's a good idea to clear all your debts and have a little bit of money set aside, because this will go infinitely easier if you have this stuff sorted out before you try and leave on your big grand adventure. And yeah, obviously this sucks. No one likes paying down bills. It's not fun, but it's going to make a huge difference in our ability to be footloose and travel stress-free. Haley and I started on this path years ago, minimizing possessions, simplifying bills, trimming the fat. Every single little aspect of our lives is pointing towards this one dream, and that includes our money. So the big point here is to change your habits. No one likes hearing this. Haley and I have done it. We don't have a choice. And yeah, we're trying to quit smoking. Okay, I'm done. Hopefully the point was well made. If you have more thoughts on this, let's discuss it in the comments. I'm very keen to talk about this stuff. And time to install a new bilge pump and put new sanding pads on our sanders because both of them are dead. The galley right now, straight up, is the biggest project on this boat, and we're in the thick of it. But once this project is wrapped up, things will move a lot quicker from here. Just so you know, this part of the video is actually real time. There's a ton of work that's been done in here, but I'm not gonna show it all. But I'm gonna go into a little bit of detail on things and fix what's going wrong. I didn't really film any of the demolition because it's kind of boring, but what we're gonna get into is the designing phase and then the building phase. And while phase one, redoing the galley, is well underway, we've also taken on sanding every single surface in the boat and doing all that really dirty prep work now. Once all the dusty, dirty work is done and we can wipe down the boat and get it dust free, then we can mask, prime, and paint, or varnish. So let's break down the galley a little bit. We need storage, we need shelving, we need new sink, we need new faucets, and we want a dishwasher. And to tie all of those systems together, we need other systems. 3 systems to be specific. We need a plumbing system, we need an AC system to run the potential dishwasher, and we need a DC system which will power the water pumps, which will give us pressure water on the boat. That's pretty clear and attainable, but it's not quite that simple. Because then from there we need to build it, and then we need to test fit everything, do a full dry fit, take it all apart, do all of the plumbing and make sure all of that works, test, and then when we're done testing, then we do final assembly. In real time, we're getting really close to final assembly. And just like any boat project, we ran into a bunch of curveballs. There was rotten wood, There was things falling off the walls that need to be refastened. There was water trapped behind that stuff. There was broken ceiling planks, missing ceiling planks that have just lifted off and aren't attached anymore. So all of that has to get sorted out. Not to mention I might have made a few mistakes here and there. Also, a few notes about why we went to fully restore this galley. A bunch of the materials used to build it were MDF, which if you know anything about MDF, and water, which this is a boat, it is on the water, then you will know that it swells up and becomes completely unusable over time. So all of it had to come out, and then anything that was good on top of that was so old at this point that like maybe things wouldn't close properly, or they just broke and were kind of just hanging on. So it was time for a full redo. As a reoccurring theme, let's go back to the financial side of things. This has been a very expensive galley restoration. The sink was very expensive. Oh my God, faucets are expensive. We're using high quality woods, stainless steel fasteners, new pumps, electrical stuff. It all adds up. So this has been months of planning, months of sourcing, ordering, waiting for things to show up. We're literally moving as fast as our finances allow us right now, which is sort of one major purchase every once in a while. And thankfully for you, a couple months have gone by and we have all this stuff and we're cracking away on it. Because remember, when you're working on a boat, 4 times your budget. If you think it's gonna go smooth, it's not gonna go smooth. 4 times your schedule as well, because you're gonna come across rotten things, broken things, you're gonna break things, you're gonna wait for things to show up on order. It takes a lot more time than we ever think it does, and the galley is no exception. So all of these little Velcro teeth are totally roached out. They don't hold pads anymore, so time to swap out. And here we have another expense. It's your tools. You gotta stay on top of your tools. They will break, they will need sharpening, they will need time and energy and money. That's even after you buy the tools themselves, so. Oh, that looks like, yeah, that's a part of the sander. Feels good. Sounds good. And she holds a pad nicely. That's great. Quick note, don't forget to check out our YouTube membership if you're keen on supporting that way. We would really appreciate it. And there's Patreon as well. We're a viewer-funded show, so we can't do it without you. Well, our bilge pump has been dead for a few weeks, so we've been pumping out by turning on the motor, because the mechanical bilge pump does it. But it is really mucky, disgusting, and horrible down here. The bilge pump is maybe dead or maybe just really gummed up. I mean, you can see how...
That's muck.
Yeah.
That was all in the bilge pump.
And you can see the bilge just horribly dirty right now, so we need to scrub the hell out of this. But for now, it would be really nice to have an electrical bilge pump because it is raining a lot right now and we're taking on a lot of water.
Yeah, because what was happening before is we were lifting it and it was running.
Yeah, it was running before.
So, but I didn't even hear that. Are you sure it's not the very bottom one? What was that?
What was that?
I don't know. It sounded really bad though.
Maybe. Can you? Oh, there's just. Can you flick the one that goes brrr? Off. Oh, we just popped the hose.
Oh.
That's okay.
Interesting. Well, it just didn't have a thing on it yet.
I guess not.
Well, that's how you learn.
Well, this is the problem. The little connecting rod inside it that keeps the pump moving just corroded away. So, new bilge pump will be ordered tonight.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Yeah, great. And here's the float switch is working properly.
Float switch is working for now.
I mean,
yeah.
if we just buy a cheap spare, just for the hell of it, might as well buy a pair of them.
It's going to be the next thing to go, really.
I got money right now, so we might as well spend it.
Hey, yo.
There was something else that I was like, hey, we should probably grab that too. Oh, the sanding thing. So we can just make that order tonight.
Yeah, both of the bases, the Velcro bases.
They are, yeah.
They're not Velcro.
They're not holding the pads at all. And it sucks because we're like at the fucking nipply tip of kind of finishing the sanding in here, and they both just went at the same time. But
so big Amazon order tonight.
In their defense, they did last us 3 ships.
They did.
So,
yeah.
And like this one was dead when we finished Dagon, and we managed to limp it a little bit for this project. But
yeah, they're done now.
So note to self: always have those around.
Yeah, we should maybe buy 3.
We'll see how much they cost first.
I don't think they're too expensive.
Okay. Well, if they're like $15 each, then we'll get 3. Otherwise, we're just getting 2.
Deal.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, this is a little 1-incher, so.
It's a 1-inch? Oh, the hose size. Yeah, that's how it's measured.
Yeah. So we just need to. If we're lucky, we can get our hands on this exact same one. I like the design and it fits in there nicely. Mm-hmm. But they're now circular. It doesn't really matter in the end. A little different than the one we pulled out, but it's gonna be just fine. Tiny bit of a loose fit. Hopefully a hose clamp will do the trick. Later in the episode, our friend Daryl shows up and gives us a hand assessing our rig and sail plans, so stay tuned for that. It's on there tight enough now that I can just barely twist it by hand, so I think that's pretty good. We'll see if it spills water when it goes to pump out. Now to see if the electrical's any good, so I'm going to tap this onto the setup and lift the float switch and see if that works. If it does, then I will crimp it all together. Success! So now I can crimp all this stuff together. Do a slightly bigger one so I can get the wires closer together. Now I gotta see if I can get this to fit back in. And we're sucking out the bilge water. Also, yes, cleaning the bilge is one of the biggest jobs we have, but we're gonna wait till we're done all the dirty work. We have the mechanical bilge pump, the manual bilge pump, and the electric bilge pump, all in this one little sump here. The rest of the boat, like here, is filled with cement, so there's really no water collection anywhere in the boat except for right here. So this is about a week's worth of buildup from rain and the stuffing box dripping, and potentially a leak somewhere in the boat that we haven't discovered yet because we haven't hauled her out. piece of a brick. Yeah, we don't play like that. Pretty dirty down there, but we're going to be doing a pretty deep clean in here at some point once we're done all the major renovations. So that's when I'll clean up all the wiring and assess all the hoses and make sure that they are not covered in sludge. Also, finding this brick down there was a little weird. It's not really adding that much ballast. Bricks aren't that heavy, but mission complete. So while Haley is busy sanding away and getting the interior all finished up, it's time for me to start designing. We kind of know what we want. We have a brief vision, but I should probably write it out on paper to get a really solid idea of where we're going with this project. So time to do that. Okay, so here's an approximation of what we're going to aim for. This is a top view. Right in the galley by the sink, we want a big extension on a sort of shelving unit that's kind of neck level. And then below it, so this is a vaguely in perspective, out of perspective orthographic view. That's the same as this. This is the shelf right below the porthole. And then the roof is just right here above all this. So this would be a nice place to put plants, spices, that sort of thing. So there'll be a big old chunky fiddle on it to keep everything in place. And then dishwasher tucked in the corner beside the sink. And then a series of openings into this new expanded, non-existent currently shelving unit so that we can put spices and food and dishes and pots and pans away safely and nicely. We want a new stove, a gimbaled stove. Right below it is some storage, but right below that, I want a little foothold so that you can stand on it flat, because right below it is sloped flooring and it makes for the occasional slip and fall onto the stove. And we don't want that, so I'm going to put in a little footrest. And then a giant sink, huge sink. We're not doing the tiny marine sinks. And then below that, on the face that is what we would be leaning over to do dishes, that face there, I'm going to do in all mahogany, brand new cutlery drawer. And then closer to the companionway stairs, it's just going to be an opening there to allow us to put a trash can in underneath the cutlery drawer. It's just going to go sink, cutlery drawer, trash, and then closer to the stove is going to be an access for through halls and plumbing. So pretty straightforward. Countertop, which this already is, which below here is our battery bank. So all in all, not that bad. And I think I'm going to store in the well in behind here where the hull curves away at the turn of the bilge. I think I'm going to put in additional ballast because we're a little stern light and we have ballast up front. I can shift back into this area. So I think that's a really good call. Yeah, so this is the general vision. It's nothing too crazy, shouldn't take a ton of time once all of the nasty, hard prep work, sanding, priming, painting, fairing, all of those things. Once all of that's in place, plumbing's installed, then I just start assembling this new galley. So I'm very excited. At this point, I've actually done a couple tiny little test fits and I'm very, very, very excited. So I've already pulled everything out. So we're down to just what we're going to build on top of or what needs repair before we can build on top of it. So it's starting to happen. Here we are diving into all the work we got to do. For starters, we have a ton of sanding to do. As I said a few dozen times, it is very dusty no matter what we do. So We're trying to wrap all this up as soon as possible, and even still, real time, it's still ongoing. But at the same time, I can get other things done. Now that the galley's been completely torn apart and opened up, all of the ceiling planks that have become detached are now back in place, and I'm just drilling them out to allow them to take fasteners and pre-drilling the frames so that I don't crack them. Then I just drive a couple stainless steel fasteners in periodically throughout the plank, and Robert's your father's brother. We got ceiling planks installed, but one of the kickers was that we were missing ceiling planks, so I have to make a few more back here. I had put one on, but it had a knot in it, so I had to replace it, but that gave me a beautiful template to work on, so making a fresh one with beautiful wood stock was not that difficult. All I had to do was get the shape generally correct and then start planing it down with a block plane and in some cases my Japanese rasp. After maybe 5 or 6 test fits, I eventually got a perfectly good fit in there. I'm actually really happy with the general result. And then drove some fasteners in, and then we, at this point, have a completed ceiling in the galley, which is amazing because now we can start building on top of that ceiling. As you can see, I've already started toying with the general layout of the shelving unit and the shelf below it, and eventually I'm going to get to cracking on the lower shelf on there, because we've actually recessed the entire galley countertop to drop down about 4 inches, which gives us even more storage in an area of the boat that was otherwise completely unused. All right, final ceiling plank just went in. Whew. That looks really good. I put one in before, but it had where is it? It's right here. I put this one in, but it had a big knot in it, so very prone to breaking. So I just templated it and made it a little tighter fit, and then just crept up on it. And there she's in. Oh, that feels really good. Whew. So from here, it's time to work on that lower shelving unit that I was talking about, where we can drop things lower than the galley counter itself. Once I had a cleat fastened to the wall, I just block planed it down nice and level so that it could accept little shelving planks on top of it and have it sit nice and flush. This is your typical late evening aboard Thunderchild these days. Haley and I in full workwear, grinding and sanding away and fitting new things. But we're almost done. We're almost done the galley. We have a visitor today. Daryl from Precision Sales is on his way to Silva Bay right now. And we are going to do the 2 things that we mentioned in that first episode of season 3. We're going to take a look at the rig and what modifications we can make to it. And we're going to look at the sail plan and what modifications we can make to that, and get general quotes and so on for it, so Haley and I can start budgeting for new sails. Pulling into Silva Bay now. Daryl should be here now or soon. Oh, I can see him. He's already here. Cool. See you in a bit. Huge thank you to Daryl for coming out to help out with this. And if you want to check out his YouTube show, go to Do It With Daryl or I Dream of Dinghy. It's an amazing show. He's doing incredible things, and he's building a brand new tender right now that is incredible. I don't even want to call it a tender. It's a full-blown boat. Go check it out.
Where we have your head attachment.
Yeah. We obsessed over the blueprints for hours and thought of all the changes that we could and should make to the rig. Thanks so much, Daryl, for taking the time to do this with me. I had a lot of ideas that were more or less unnecessary, and Daryl really helped me figure that out. Okay, Daryl bounced, but in summation, we got a really good concept of what to do and what tasks are on my plate. Thankfully, the original blueprints of the vessel have the rig as a gaff mizzen, so we have all of the measurements we need, but we're not going to stick with the original. We're going to modify a little bit. So this is where my job comes into play. So he's going to come back once I've done these changes, and then we will take final measurements and make final sails. Let me show you exactly what I'm going to change about our rig and why. One of the interesting things that we noticed on the mizzen mast is that the way Thunderchild is currently set up is that our shrouds attach here, but the original plans, and in order to make it a gaff rig, we need the shrouds to attach really high up. That allows us to have a saddle that sits on here that we can raise up. Right now, we could only raise it a portion and then it would peak up, but we want to go from here all the way up and then start peaking up. So when we take the rig down, I need to take the little thumbs on here that stop the rig from sliding down. I need to take them from here and I need to put them up here. Really easy modification. And then obviously I need to make new longer shrouds, which I'll probably do out of Dyneema, as Daryl has a hookup for Dyneema. So if this was the mast and the boat is this way, our mizzen boom is currently really low, so tucking underneath the boom to go from port to starboard is actually quite difficult. So what we're going to do is we're going to raise that up maybe as much as a foot. We'll lose a bit of sail area, but we're also gaffing the mizzen, which adds sail area. So we're probably going to land on about the exact same sail area that we currently have on the mizzen, so no big changes there. And then for the main, it's pretty well exactly according to the blueprints. So we're not going to change the sail shape, sail anything. We're just going to get new sails, which will hold a better shape and propel us better. But we're probably going to take that main boom and we're going to raise it up 12 inches, something like that, which will make ducking from port to starboard on deck a lot easier because our deck has so much camber to it that by the time the boom is sitting just above the camber, you have to get on all fours to duck around. And I don't love that. Plus it opens up, again, more deck space for a life raft, a tender, a deck box, something to store on deck. The next question is the bowsprit. The bowsprit's not very long. It is as long as the blueprints tell it to be, but I know a lot of these Colin Archer style Norwegian rescue boats have very long bowsprits, and I would call this very short in comparison. A lot of them are 2 or 3 times longer. So modifying the rig to have a longer bowsprit simply entails extending the bobstay and extending the forestay and putting on a new piece of wood up front. So that's not actually a big deal. But the question is, do I actually want to do that? Do I want to replace the bowsprit? It's good. It's relatively new even, and it works. And it's according to the blueprints. But, Mr. Tradition, I know this is a little bit weird, but we're going to put a furler on the forwardmost stay, which will allow us to go from having a really high-cut Yankee that doesn't really do a lot for us when we're sailing to being able to have 110% Genoa and really have a powerhouse sail up front that I can reef in by simply rolling it in, and then I can operate as if I had that original little Yankee up front, so I still have effectively the same small sail shape up there if I want, but I can also bring it all the way back and have a powerhouse of a sail. Hey, sorry, quick word from Editing Barry. Basically what I'm trying to say is that having a furling sail up forward is substantially more versatile than just having 2 Hank-on sails that are quite small. So now I can go big or I can go small. It's great. So these will be really critical for us sailing in lighter winds or longer passages, because around here the wind dies, we fire up the motor, and there is really no wind around here a lot of the time. But out in the Pacific, we can't just fire up the motor and get to Hawaii. We have to be able to just put out more canvas if the wind is really light. And then at the tip of the bowsprit, I'm going to add a connector Or if I extend the bowsprit, I'm going to attach the foresail not at the very end, allowing me to have another eyelet at the tip so that when I have my spinnaker, asymmetrical spinnaker, which is going to be our true light wind powerhouse, an additional mounting point at the tip of the bowsprit, which allows for much easier tacking and jibing of the asymmetrical spinnaker because it's well clear of any pulpits or other sails. So getting that extra space on there does have its value, whether I do it as a welded on tab to the current situation or I rethink the whole thing and make that bowsprit much longer, which I'm very much in favor of. So the only real holdup is a good timber. And if any of you are local and have a big chunk of wood, Douglas fir, yellow cedar, or better, something harder than that, let me know, because I would be really, really happy to take the time to mill that up, hand shape it, and make a far larger extension off the front of our boat, a bigger bowsprit. As a little bonus, our staysail is perfect. It is the perfect size and shape and everything. I love the staysail. It's amazing. But in big heavy weather, if I have a furling foresail, I think it would still be nice to be able to just pull on one rope and have that staysail furl up. So there are other systems of furlers that aren't the full length. Basically, it's like a crude little furler that doesn't really require, basically it's really good for small sails and you can just roll them up and they will bunch up onto each other. They're not as effective as having a proper furling sail built because it won't roll up as nicely, but it's not a big deal. So I do think for heavy weather scenarios, I'm going to install one of these quasi furlers, which is good for a small sail like this staysail, in which case I can douse that sail from the cockpit comfortably and safely. I don't want her to become overbalanced astern or forward and have weather helm or lee helm or anything. So we're being pretty conscious of this. So the benefit to gaffing the mizzen, again, more sail area, which will, if the wind was coming from this way, would blow the back of the boat this way. But if we have a much larger foresail at our disposal, we can put that up and we'll balance nicely and we won't have weather helm or lee helm. And with it being furling, I can make little micro adjustments as need be. So between reefing, furling, all of these things, I think Thunderchild will balance really well. And I don't need to change the mizzen mast. I don't need to change the main mast or add a top mast or any of these things I was wondering in my head if I wanted to do. And I don't even need to extend the bowsprit, but I really want to. So that is very informative. And at this very moment, spring is upon me. It's just around the corner. So I really, really, really do need to wrap up what's going on inside the boat so that we can stop focusing on that and I can start focusing on the rig so that Daryl can start focusing on the sails and then we can get back out on the water. Because if I make these modifications and raise the boom, now my sails don't fit my rig. So the only option we're gonna have through the time while we're waiting for those new sails is I'm gonna have to throw a reef in the main and the mizzen, which is fine. It just means we'll be less effective at sailing in really light wind conditions. So there is urgency to do it. Daryl says he's gonna be really, really conscious of our timeline and help out with all that. So I'm not too worried about the time between once the rig comes down, modifications are made, rig goes back up, and we have inadequately sized sails for our new arrangement. I'm not too stressed about it. I think Daryl's gonna pull through really quickly. And otherwise, we're just cruising around with a couple of reefs in the main and the mizzen, and that's okay. I'm happy to do that while waiting for new sails. So this is the shrouds for the mizzen. And on Thunderchild, currently, they attach about here. So what I need to do is have them attach well above the height of the gaff. It's gonna require new shrouds, but that's okay. I want new shrouds back here. And I'll have to make a mizzen gaff, but that's easy. I've made those before. Again, we're probably going to bump this up a tiny bit just to give more deck clearance, which also gives me much more clearance for a substantial wheelhouse. And again, the mizzen boom is going to come up substantially. So ideally, I have a wheelhouse that can extend all the way aft and keep myself protected while I'm steering the boat. And then for the foresails, this is effectively exactly the sail plan we do have right now. Staysail is perfect. Again, might put it on a furler. For the big foresail, we're putting this on a furler and we are going to extend it all the way back to here, like 110% or so. And that way I can really put some big canvas up. If you guys wanted to become a member on YouTube or join our Patreon, all of the videos get posted there early, so you get early access to them, and it's as cheap as $1 a month. You can support at any level you want, but like, if you just want to support at $1, I'm happy. It all helps. Editing Barry here once again. Yeah, we're doing live updates on occasion, and we're going to start doing more of those as well. So if you are a member or a patron member, then you will also receive those. So that's a bonus too. Get to see what we're actually up to right now. And the Patreon you can join for free, so it's not even a financial burden there. I just want to make sure you guys actually get the notifications and all the updates. And I really wanted to say thank you for all the support to this point. We literally wouldn't be here without you guys, and we can't keep producing these videos without this support. So thanks for joining along. This is a viewer-funded show, and we're very appreciative. Thank you. See you guys next time, but also before you go, if you wanted to watch the video where Haley and I first get Thunderchild and how that all played out, it's right here. It's worth a watch. It's one of my best performing videos, and it's because it's a wild adventure, and if you're new here, check it out. It'll really fill you in on a lot of the details. Thanks so much. See you guys later.